What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Impact Warrior. Moving on, and we're going to be talking today to a good friend of mine who has mastered the art of mastery. Ooh, look what I did. Justin Burns, he is the founder of a platform called Maestro. It is, and we're going to dig into what that means with you, right? The concepts of master classes and things like that I think lean in on this, but we're going to dig in even deeper with how you've pivoted in different directions to really hone in on that mastery. But Justin he's an awesome guy, super smart. Man, this guy he's also done amazing jobs in webinars. He's like crushed big ass webinars, did like some big numbers. And he's a TEDx speaker as well. So we're going to get into that and like facing some of those fears and like pushing beyond his boundaries and just all the stuff that comes with that. So Justin, man, thank you so much for your time and being here. I appreciate you.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you, having me on, with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Easy Webinar Stud. I'm excited, man, for this interview. This is going to be awesome.
Well, let's talk, tell me about this mastery idea, man. Cause like, you taught yourself coding.
Yeah. It's so interesting. Like mastery, it's like a new concept that I realized. I didn't, how you subconsciously do stuff, right?
Yeah.
And so interestingly enough, the name of my talk was The Art of Mastery, because I was kind of like discombobulated all over the place. Like, what should I talk about when I got the invite to be a TED speaker? And I was like, what should I talk about? Should I talk about this? Should I talk about that? And I said, I was on the phone with a friend and she said, why don't you talk about something that you've done? And I was like, well, I've done a lot. What do I narrow it down to? And she goes, I think personally, you're obsessed with mastery and learning. And I never really thought about it like that. And so, looking at the journey of what it really takes to master stuff and kind of backing up a little bit, I think I used to didn't even understand the concept of mastery until I really kind of did a lot of self-reflection. And I realized that I was learning the traditional way of learning, which is what we all do unconsciously, because that's what we're taught in school. And so we pick up a book and we read the book and that's it. Or we go through the course, we watch the videos, we try to apply it, and that's it. But that's not really what mastery really is, right? There's some other steps that I had to realize that were a part of any learning experience or any mastery experience. And it opened up so many doors and it made my life so much more fulfilling when I understood what it took to master stuff.
Okay, you can't just leave it there though. You have to tell me what that means now. Are you talking about like applying it to real life, or the art of trying and failing? Like you gotta, can you give us a little more insight? Because this is yummy, man. This is some good stuff.
Yeah, so let's go deep on this, right? I think I used to do surface. I think there's this thing in life when you look at life and the trajectory through our lenses. Our lenses are more so our experiences, our parents' experiences, everything, right?
Yeah.
And even the way that we learn. But I feel like everybody in life have a level of genius to them, right?
Yep.
And you just have to figure out what your genius is. And so for me, going back to, even having the tech company Maestro, if you would ask me in high school, what are you going to do? I wasn't the kid was like, I'm going to go to Harvard. I'm going to go to Yale. I'm going to go to Spelman. I'm going to go to even a freaking community college would have been great. But it wasn't, I didn't know what I wanted to do until I was 22.
Yeah.
And even even tech is fairly new. Tech is only a 6-7 year old love or passion, right? And so what happened is I remember picking up my first book and I was like, I want to start a tech company, but I don't know where to start. And I started to first Like it was so overwhelming, like so freaking overwhelming. I mean, I get stressed out even thinking about it right now. But like it's like learning this coding language, learning this. And then one day, I'll never forget, I read the book 50 of Law by Robert Greene, one of my favorite authors, author of the 40 Laws of Power. And I remember reading that book from cover to cover, and it was just talking about mastery and what it took, and the fact that learning is not this simple process. It's a process that you come into. And when you understand how the mind works, that is what we equate to geniuses, and the most amazing people in history, they were masters. And what that means is they went through the bumps and bruises. They had this period of time in their life. We never talk about this. There's a period of time in their life that referred to as the process. You hear the process, right? But there's another word that I want to highlight, which is called grudge work, grudgery. That's the part we don't talk about. Grudgery is this boring, long, really not fun, usually filled with anxiety, all type of emotions, that is a part of the mastery process. And that's the process that humans don't like to go through. Right. And so what I realized is this is what happened is you go from being unfulfilled and what do I do next? Because you're so obsessed with things and you want to master it, you become a part of this process where you remove yourself and the feelings from rejection, and you start to go, this is a part of any process. And to me, you have to equate that to number one, the time, right? You have to have this relationship to time, because in essence, we watch the clock, we want it fast. But any part of mastery has nothing to do with time. It's a part of being so engulfed in the process that you become lost in it. You become obsessed with it. New epiphanies happen that are not even equated to learning. You get to the point where you create your own thought processes, and you don't you live off of people. You go, oh, Casey wrote this book and he gave me a starting point. But you become so engulfed in the process that you have your own starting point. You start to develop your own methodologies. And I think as you go deeper, that comes with any process. So that's what I've been really obsessed with.
And I absolutely love you said that, because most people are not in love with the process, but
yeah,
subconsciously, I think that what you have to do is you have to, as you just said, take yourself out of it from rejections and all the bumps that the hurdles. Because if you said every time you hit a wall, I'm going to not do this anymore, you would be stopping your process, midway or wherever you are. But if you think of it from taking yourself out of the equation and just saying, this is part of the process, and and that rejection that I had is just one part of this entire process that I'm mastering and I'm getting through, and you enjoy that, the process part. I feel like what people don't tell you is that they're always in a process. They're always in this place, even if you get to a point in your life where you have what you had as a goal, 5-10 years ago, and you reach that goal, well, you're still in this next level of process and mastery into the next version of yourself, or the next thing that you want to achieve or overcome, right?
Mm-hmm.
And and I love that I feel like it is like falling in love with the process, falling in love with your own thought, and 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 how you get from A to Z on your own, and what it takes to get there. And it's, that line is always changing, because, there's, you're never like from A to Z. You're not always, hey, I hit it, now what do I do? No, it's like you always have this next level of process that you're trying to work towards. If you are someone who is trying to always improve, I think you have to also be someone who wants to always improve and wants to be better, to be able to say this,
Definitely.
you know,
Absolutely.
I'm ready to enjoy the process of this and then go to the next thing and enjoy that process. Like if you just, otherwise you get stagnant, you're not, there's no growth. So can you hear me okay, or is the sound acting funny?
No, I can hear you.
Oh, okay, good. Good. Um,
So, and just to even play off of that, right?
yeah.
Let's even go with a like a real world kind of thing that's more even authentic and being transparent, right?
Hmm.
Like, so we, especially you're the founder of Easy Webinar, right? I'm the founder of Maestro.
Hmm.
And people look at us as like superpowers. They developed a tech company, but there's the process. So the process, even years ago, and this is being fully transparent, years and years, we started off with the mission of developing a platform for creators. And that was just, we wanted to make it easy. We wanted to build something really, really cool. So for years and years and years, we were chasing an idea that was kind of rooted in the wrong way of thinking, which is really a path to mastery as well. So what we did was, we were just like, we're going to compete with some of our competitors that you're familiar with, and it's
Yeah.
like, we're going to do this and we're going to do that, and then it became this thing where the approach to the thinking was really not that great, because we were more so chasing features in opposed to solving a problem for our customers. And that was the wrong way of thinking. And so last year, because me and you haven't talked in a while. Me and Casey are actually
Yeah.
a really good friend. We haven't talked in a while.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting down, I'm at this event, and I'll never forget, it was a tech event. And we're sitting down in the crowd, and the guy goes, a founder of Weebly, right? The platform
Yep.
Weebly.
Hmm.
He's talking, and he goes, our platform went through so many iterations, and he's like, we were trying to really solve it. It took over 100 iterations before we found product market fit. And he goes into this whole dissertation about product market fit. And I'll never forget, he says something very simple. He's like, many platforms fail because their focus is on trying to be a Me Too product, in opposed to innovating and reiterating and solving a really big problem for their customer. And I mean, it sounds really simple in nature, but I think
Hmm.
because of the fact that I'm in mastery and I'm always reevaluating my thoughts and processes and me as a person,
Yeah.
it just freaking one day just hit me last year. It was like a ton of bricks towards the end of the year. I got up and I go to my team and said, listen, we need to get on the phone with our customers and solve a big problem, right?
Hmm.
So we sent out an email the same day. Our calendar is filled for 2 weeks, and all we're doing is on the phone with customers, going in and in and in. And we find out that we've been going in the wrong direction. And it was such a humbling moment for us. And I hadn't really been connected to my platform for probably over about a year. I felt really
Hmm.
disconnected with it. But the journey to mastering, kind of connecting it all, is that we didn't change directions, or we did change directions, but we realized that we only saw part of the equation, and the other equation was more rooted in the biggest piece of what I feel going to be this year, and that is connecting our student. We saw part of the problem. Part of the problem was, hey, you got this course, you sell it, but the other challenge was engagement and getting people to actually consume your product. We
Hmm.
hadn't solved that challenge. And so now what we felt like is that in order to sell a course, in order to sell a product, you have to build a community, and you have to have an engaging experience for your customers. And so now I'm excited, because that's the direction we've gone in. And it's going to not only separate us from everybody else, it's also going to allow for us to be in our own identity. So I'm excited about that.
That's perfect. I love that. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's important. You know, you need to find out, you need to dig in and find out what people's biggest problem is. You know, I kind of think, ours is like, people don't need webinars. They need to be able to position themselves the right way. And webinars being that perfect way to kind of position yourself, right? Um, and people, that come into our ecosystem, they want to be able to sell their stuff in a better way, but they also want to be able to scale it up. But, at the same time, they're that's you know it, they need to figure out how, what they're gonna how they're gonna fulfill on that at the end of the day as well. So that's where obviously I've thought so much on these same topics of like where we're going, what's the vision for where we're headed. I love that you talked to your customers and found out that it was like engagement that did it. That was like communities and how you're so now your focus is building out communities and then being able to like drive those, help those people from the community angle into courses and things like that. Is that's the plan?
Yeah, connecting the two because, and I've been obsessed with connecting the two because I think you have a combination of two different things, right? You have the online course platform and you also have the community platform, and you have separation, but they're actually one and the same, right? People buy courses and they, I didn't know this until I went down the journey and go and started working with course creators, is
Yeah.
that people who sell information, they're not really selling information, they're selling an experience. And I like to say, there's a couple reasons why people buy online courses, right? They
Mm.
don't just buy it for the information or the learning of the thing, right?
Yeah.
They buy it because number one, they want an end result, right? They want some specific problem that they want to solve.
Right.
That is the specific thing. It's not, oh, I want to learn how to do webinars. No, I mean,
I want to
the
solve
end
that.
result is I want more sales in my business. I want
Right.
to be able to communicate and make more sales through a vehicle that will teach people a whole kind of rudimentary process, right? So
Right.
that's one. Number two, they join because of community, not the community of a forum board or Facebook group. The dynamics of a community is so much deeper than I even imagined. And what I realized is one of the things that we did earlier this year is we have another kind of element to our business because we were kind of talking about, we were tired of like people talking to us about courses. So it was like one guy came to me and said, "Hey, can you help me with my course?" We did his course for him. It was a back end service that we offered just,
Mm-hmm.
because we added more people to our company. And they were like, "Hey, we can help." So I systemized the whole process, breaking down their course. We basically filmed this course, everything, just as a case study, right? Just to see. 6 months later, this guy did $1 million in sales from what we did, right?
Wow.
So we kind of reverse engineer what we did. And what we realized is the biggest mistake that people make is they start with funnels and ads and all this other stuff when really they should be focusing on the back end part. Because if you can fix the back end part, if you can fix the community element will drive the front end sales. Because if you just have a standardized course where people are coming in one way, they're leaving out the other way with no type of connection. And so that's kind of one of the main reasons we've been really getting into communities and why our focus is going in that direction.
I love that. So to like to kind of sum up what we've talked about thus far, it's about really leaning in on that mastery and that process as that mastery, and you doing your own work. You found that unpacking what your customers' true problems are and being able to solve that is a part of your process. That's a part of your mastery. Um, I love it, man. I mean, you and we could obviously talk for a while, and I could like find out, like I was like, well, like tell me more about what you're doing with community, because I got this thing and I'm doing this thing and I'm trying to do this here, and I could go into the things that we're doing, where like community connection, conversation, these are big parts of kind of what we're trying to do. And obviously, as someone who's just trying to build a platform that has a more connective way of creating a sale, right, through relationships, through positioning through high impact conversations, type of thing. And what can come from that from a community standpoint or follow-up standpoint, or conversation standpoint. These are all good questions that you and I will geek out on at some point. But I wanna ask you, you touched on this, and I think this is powerful. But did you ever find that your moments of struggle, like your storm, where it was really, trying times, was that through the process? Was that a part of that whole mastery and process that you had to sort of reframe, rewire your brain to be able to say, like, this is just a wall that I'm going to have to, or a problem that I'm going to have to solve, or a nut that I'm going to have to crack, or a wall I'm going to have to break down. Or did you allow, what was a real trying time for you? And was that a part of like that process?
Yeah, I think throughout all of our lives, we try to avoid this P word, right? And that P word is pain. And I think, as human beings, we don't want to experience a lot of pain, right? And so we avoid pain. We avoid the pain of rejection, the pain of regret, the pain of all type of stuff. Yeah. And I think the first time it happened to me, right, that I didn't see it is that I remember probably back in 2013, 2014, I was trying to be an entrepreneur, right? And I didn't have a tech company. I had something else. I had a coaching program. It just wasn't working out. And I remember getting this notice in the mail that was like, your house is in foreclosure. And I was so like dialed in trying to be an entrepreneur that I didn't even know my bills were behind, and I didn't have hardly any money in the bank. I was so obsessed. And I remember with, at my then, at the time, my then fiance was like, she was working, and she's like, I could pay the bills. I'm like, no, I want to be a man, right? I'm like, no, I'm gonna figure this out. And then I remember just like being frustrated in the process. But then, I joined this other program, and I remember the guy saying something. He said, Justin, when you change your relationship to pain, the world opens up for you because you're attached to the wrong type of pain. And it was like so mind-boggling for me when he said that. And I just went on this journey of facing the pain, and just doing the stuff I just hated doing. Learning how to sell over the phone, learning how to do webinars, learning how to speak and articulate my words. And because I was an introvert, still am. But this time, I'm extrovert, introvert, I manage it well. But at that time, I was like, I was stutter. It was horrible, but going through all this stuff, and it was very overwhelming, but facing the pain, facing it, getting better every day. So 4 months later, they were like, your house is going to be taken in 2 months. I cracked my first 20K month. My mother never made over 25 grand in a year. And I was looking at that screen. I was like, wait, how much do we do in sales? It was $20,000. The next month we did 30. The next month after that, we did 40. And I was like, wow, like this is crazy. So I call up the company, I call up the bank, and I go, how do I get my house out of foreclosure? As I got some money, I got money now, I can pay. You're like, file all this paperwork. And the greatness in me was like, you're asking the wrong question. Ask a more focused question, like walk in your power. And I said, actually, I want to make an offer on my house. The lady like kind of snuffles on the bush and goes, what? You're in foreclosure? I said, no, I want to make an offer without all the paperwork. I want to buy my house. She goes back. She said, okay, we can make an offer. What are you offering? I think I owe like 150,000. I said $60,000. I don't know why I said it. I said 60 grand. I don't know why I said it. Mm-hmm. And she goes, all right, deal. And I was like, okay, I got to come up with 60 grand. Even though I made all this money, I had all this debt piled up, right?
Yeah.
So I said, do what you did, the pain that you faced to get to the other side. We did a $50,000 a month, and it kept going up. And I remember mailing in this check. She let me do it. She let me break it up 20,000, 20,000, 20,000, because I built a relationship with her. Mm-hmm. And I remember they sent me this letter, and it said, you have officially paid off your home. This is the title to your house, to your townhouse. And I'll never forget the feeling of that.
Hmm.
And what comes of that story is that was just one story of that I faced the pain and I got through, that I changed my relationship to pain. And that has been, anytime I get into any bad situation, this, and I've been in some, the bank account gets low, or the credit goes bad, or
Yep.
I got denied for this. I always remember that one story and say, Justin, you just got to change your relationship to pain. It's not going to feel good, but on the other side of that, you're going to meet more of yourself.
Mm. So it's funny that you say, "Oh man, I had to learn how to speak," or like you can sum up more eloquently than I can some of the things that I want to say. Uh,
Mhm.
and that's clearly a part of your mastery because you and I did the same stuff, like where I had a stutter and I had to try to like figure out my messaging, but still, you're speaking more eloquently than I am on this topic because when I try to talk about pain, I try to talk about like working out, and pushing and growing muscle and the pain that it takes to do that. It's like you have to enjoy it or live in that pain and be comfortable with what that means, and then you're constantly changing your threshold of pain, right? And so when you change your relationship, it's like just having a higher threshold for that pain, so that pain is no longer pain. it's just it's just one thing that you have to overcome, you know um and but I love the way you said it. It's like changing the relationship makes way more sense to me. um so I love that you said that. um and uh and I think that's really interesting how you said that you changed the conversation with them around, like, hey, this is what I want to achieve, and you were able to pay off your house in doing that. That's really cool because for me, I went through the same thing where when I was first starting out, my house went into foreclosure and I had to try to figure out how to get it out. And I was thinking I was just going to let it go, but then something in me allowed, was I was able to like dig deep, deal with the pain, modify my loan, and then be able to actually keep my house. And then years later, I paid off my second mortgage on the house, like maybe a year or two later, which got me back into like this, positive cash flow point. But like these were those moments you had to where I had to live in those in that pain. And it's a reminder of where I've been to where I know, what I can do in going forward. Like it's almost like when you've dealt with those things, it helps you to assess a risk opportunity, and now we have this different, maybe we have a different idea of what risk means, and we're willing to take risks because we know that we have this sort of inner capability of being able to face painful moments in a different way now that that relationship has changed. you know do
Yeah.
you do you find that's changed for you in terms of your threshold for risk? Like, are you like more risky now, because hey, I can this is my secret sauce, like I know that I can replicate my success here or replicate it here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it's a culmination of a lot of things, right? I think, tying it back to entrepreneurship, you figure out, I think the first thing of mastery in general is mastering yourself,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have to go on a, spiritual, emotional, physical, and all of us struggle in so many different areas. But I mean, like, for example, I went on a spiritual journey last year. Um, really defining like what's more than just meets the eye. Like, how can I go deeper? How can I become more of myself? How can I discover what old belief patterns I need to throw out? What, resonates with me today? In an emotional state, evaluating those emotional traumas that come up.
Yeah.
Um, And even on a more physical now, right now, I'm mastering the physical. I got a trainer and we push through every day, and it's
Okay.
been challenging. All those things. And so why I say all that is that gives you a clear level of thinking to really be able to evolve in your business, right? Because there's probably entrepreneurs watching this. And so now that's giving me a level of, to answer your question, it's giving me a level of connection to my business, as opposed to dreading my business. So when the challenges come up, I go, okay, is my team in alignment? I was just talking about this on a webinar yesterday, how I have a right hand guy. His name is Brian, and Brian handles all the things that I hate that doesn't align with me,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm able to be the visionary, which makes me more happier to deal with the challenges. So you figure stuff like that out. You get a good team, and you don't just hire. Me and you have talked about this before. You don't hire just freaking based on how cheap somebody is.
Right.
I realize even more and more as my entrepreneurship journey grows, like I want to hire based on how freaking amazing somebody is,
Yeah.
not, oh, this person is this price, and all this. So that comes from, I feel like, self mastery, and you evolve as time progresses.
Yeah, and I agree with you. I think those are part of it where, you choose, you get a better sense of how your own vehicle is going to run. What do you need? What kind of wheels do you need? What kind of gas do you need? What kind of engine do you need? You figure all those things out when you're on your way to building anything, building a company. But you and I, we have a tech company. We have a software companies. So, and these are the things we've had to figure out. Um, Budgeting, CFOs, like all the stuff that makes you grow up. You know what I mean? And I feel like I've definitely done my part in this last year to try to really lean in on that. We brought in more hirees and things like that, and really quality people who are really like friggin' good at what they do. And it's been great to see how those additions have helped the vision and the journey and the path. So I agree with you, man. I think that's like looking at that, that's what you know that's what mastery is. It's like the evolution of your own process, and how you, and the ecosystem you create for yourself. So Justin, man, this
Yeah,
has
and you
been,
and even
yeah.
giving you some, I think even in mastery too, of
Hmm.
in the struggle, there's so much greatness in the struggle. There's so much,
Yeah.
even when you feel like you're not getting good, other people see it. Like, me and you have been friends for years, even since we met at WebinarCon. That was the first time I met you, and I was
Yeah.
a fan of yours, and
Yeah.
for years. And we met, and I just saw how you have even evolved from even just 2 years of knowing you, man. And so, it's even sometimes we have to show ourselves grace. We have to not be hard on ourselves, because even though it feels painful, and it's, it might feel like nothing is happening, there is some amazing stuff happening, and we're evolving. So it's that's a part of it too. It's like being not so hard on yourself and just going,
Yeah.
hey, this sucks, but
Yeah.
uh, I'm growing.
Yeah, I think we all can put too much like, oh man, why am I not growing enough, or like personally. But I think you're right. You have to give grace to yourself, that you're going to evolve, and your season for evolution will come. You just have to let it come. Uh when you were talking about self mastery, man, I was thinking about, like, I have a friend who started doing like this micro dosing, taking like mushrooms and stuff like that. Um, and in the past, I was like, I don't know if I would ever do that, but nowadays, I'm opened myself up to the idea that, like, hey, what if there's always different ways to
Mhm.
open those parts of ourselves that will help us uh, to be more clear on who we are and what our purpose is on this earth. So now for me, I have no biases around that. I've never done it, but I have no biases, man. But so I wonder if
Yeah, and that shows a level of growth. I remember I read a book called Stealing Fire from a Navy SEAL. I forget his name, but the book is called Stealing Fire, and he talked about microdosing,
uh-huh.
right? And how microdosing with different plants opened up his conscious mind and different levels of conscious mind. We're not going to go down that path, but what I will tell you is I was the same way. And I remember I actually started to explore plant medicine a lot more.
Mm-hmm.
Not from a standpoint of just like consuming it as a drug, but more so just kind of tapping into those different things. And what I will say is it changed my life, and it opened up newfound doors that really tapped into. It makes you see who you are, and shout out to my boy David. He actually introduced me to it. He has an organization called Journey Within, where he helps a lot of people dealing with like alcoholism,
Mm.
and he helps them with plant medicine. And what he found
Mm-hmm.
was people became less addictive to their behavior through plant medicine. But to kind of tailor it back to your point,
Mm.
you have to be open to. We're so fearful of like the unknown. We're so fearful of trying new things. And the stuff that we heard as a kid, you'll find that most of that stuff is actually for your good, like the stepping outside your comfort zone, doing the fearful stuff,
Mm-hmm.
taking the trip. And if you start to pay attention, this is me in my life, right? The growth
Yeah.
that I've experienced
Yeah.
is it has allowed for me to stop and actually really experience new things in my life and experience that. So it's been amazing.
That's awesome. So hold up one second. I got to turn on my other camera. Can you still hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, sorry, my this camera died. This is after 3 hours of podcasting right here.
I was like, where did he go?
Where'd he go? What happened? Why is he gone? But no, I'm back. I'm back. Um, yeah, I think you're right. I think we have to like let those biases go. Anything that we experience from our past, but like anything that is the unknown. It's like when you start to feel like I want to grow. It's all about allowing yourself to be on the precipice of the unknown and taking risk to open up more around who you are. So stealing fire is I think his name is Jamie Wheel. Is that right?
Yeah, let me see. Actually, the book is Jamie Wheel,
Stephen
Stealing Fire.
Kotler.
Yeah, really good book. Talks about microdosing and how, and I think as entrepreneurs too, like you know I would just say, if I were to say that even in mastery, one of the top three things that I've ever done in my life is to microdose and try different plant medicines, and how it's actually changed my relationship to myself, my creator, and even myself, like how I view myself. It's changed. It's kind of broken down this ego of who I am and the way I view myself. And so I would say I would say, obviously we're not going to go down that path, but I would just say,
Now I could go down this path with you guys. See what I did? I opened this up.
you opened it up, man. So one day I
you could tell we were on the same
would say
train.
for you, Casey,
Yeah.
like one day you have to, yeah, that's the way it is, man. So like one day you have to go down that path because it
Yeah.
will change your life and it will change a lot of people's lives for sure.
So I wanna finish with this. Like what are like uh three things that helped you in creating this mastery. Like because you just said that you think that this was one of them. Like opening up your
Mhm.
mind this way. What are three things that have helped you in your success and achieve and living in that mastery, the art of mastery? Can you maybe distill those down?
Yeah, so three things that have contributed to mastery. So number one is I kind of talked about it, changing my relationship to pain, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um really, and in order to do that, it's a constant, diving into the fire, as I like to call it. It is constantly diving into the fire. It's constantly facing stuff that I don't want to face, not, getting over this idea that everything, the stars have to align and the stars are going to part and the skies, there's going to be this great moment of feeling. This is not how it works. You have to dive in right now. You got to take immediate action. Most successful people in life, they make freaking fast decisions. They say it and then they do it. So it's change your relationship to pain. I would say number two is being obsessed is one of the things that I talk about. Is obsession is not just, oh, I'm excited. Like obsession becomes this thing that you do day in and day out. And no matter what results you're getting, you're obsessed. You're diving so deep into a topic that your mind starts to make correlations to things, and you start to make discoveries. You think about Isaac Newton. I read his story and just how he discovered it, right? It was a plague breaking out. And he went through all of these different variations. He discovered, mathematics and mechanics and so many different things from mastery and a plague. Like we're living in we're kind of our modern day plague, right? So, I would just say being obsessed and not just being so fear mongering and focused. And I would say number three would have to be plant medicine. Just it's been and this is so funny because this is one of the first times I've talked about this on a public forum. But
Of course, I pulled it
I've
out.
learned to just I've learned to just go with who I am and
Yeah,
just really discover like those things that have really changed me in a profound way, and that's one of the
absolutely.
things.
Yeah, I mean, again, this is why I talk about it more because I'm way more open to it now, way more like receptive, having these conversations with people, excited to see what that means for where I go. Um, you know, I I'm starting to try to not just master a thing, but master who I am. So, can you hear me okay? I feel like it keeps doing some funky stuff, but you can hear me, right?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, I'm like trying to master me. And I feel like by mastering me, I master all the other pieces that align with me. My vision for this or for this project or for this project, and everything goes in sort of that centralized direction of how who I am as a human, right? And the legacy I want to leave and um, the impact that I want to leave, right? And so, the more we pick apart this whole concept of leaving impact and being impact warriors, it's all about really, the theme is that there's this part that is all about changing this, changing your mind, changing your perceptions, changing, how you view things, and so that's been a through theme with this podcast, and I appreciate the insights you gave because they were so clear and so wonderful that I think people will be able to have really amazing clarity points and takeaways from this. So, Justin, you and I could talk for a while, but I want to just thank you so much for what you shared today, for helping us understand and discover our own pathways to mastery. And before we go, how can the audience who's watching this, how can they follow you? How can they know about more about you? What's the best place for them to go to?
Yeah, for sure. So you guys can follow me on Instagram, CEO Justin Burns, or my personal website is justinburns.net. And then our platform for online courses, is Maestro, which is not spelled the regular way. It's Miestro. So there'll be some links right below this video. You guys can check it out, get a 14-day trial, host your online courses, build your communities, and do some amazing stuff. I have a passion for creators, and I just want to help creators get their message out to the world in a big way, where people can, receive it. So just love what you're doing too, Casey, man. I appreciate you having me on for sure.
Yeah, well, you and I have been good friends. We when we get on, we could talk for hours and resonate on a lot of different things. That's why we're on that wavelength, and that's how that's how I could connect on that point and pull that out of you that's never been on public forum before. So brilliant. So Justin, thank you for your time, and I'm excited for this podcast to go live. So everybody, thank you for being here and listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care, everybody. Bye.